Greetings, everyone. Welcome to CRWS book study of Race Code War, The Power of Words, Images, and Symbols on the Black Psyche by Kyrie and Aharo. We are covering pages 145 through 147. And getting started, I have a clip we're going to start off with before I do any reading or share any notes. So let me get that on the screen.
He got drunk, then jumped behind the wheel of his pickup truck and plowed down 4 people in a drunken haze. So why isn't Ethan Couch behind bars? Keep in mind, he's just 16, too young to legally drive with any alcohol in his system. And in this case, his blood alcohol measured .24, 3 times the legal limit in Texas. Eric Boyle's wife and daughter were both killed.
We had over 180 years of life taken, future life, not 180 years lived, but 180 years of future life taken. And 2 of those were my wife and daughter.
Investigators say surveillance tape shows Couch and his friends stealing beer from a Walmart store in June. Then they got drunk at a party. Leaving there, police say Couch gunned his pickup, going nearly 70 miles per hour in a 40. Just about 400 yards down the street, he slammed into Holly and Shelby Boyles, who had stopped to help Brianna Mitchell fix a flat tire. Youth pastor Brian Jennings was driving by and had also stopped to help. All of them were killed. Ethan Couch was charged with 4 counts of intoxication manslaughter and tried as a juvenile. In one of the most bizarre defense strategies we've ever heard of, attorneys for Couch blame the boy's parents for his behavior that night, all because of how they raised him. A psychologist and defense witness testified that the boy suffered from something called affluenza, a lifestyle where wealth brought privilege and there were no consequences for bad behavior. He cited one example where Couch, then 15, was caught in a parked pickup with a naked 14-year-old girl who was passed out. Couch was never punished, according to the psychologist. He also testified that Couch was allowed to start drinking at a very early age, even drive when he was just 13. Prosecutors fought for a 20-year sentence, but the defense argued Couch needed treatment, not prison. The judge agreed and gave Couch 10 years probation plus time in alcohol rehab, no prison. She told the court she believes Couch can be rehabilitated if he's away from his family and given the right treatment. He'll likely end up at this pricey rehab center in Newport Beach, California. His father has
Helen,
paid $500,000
Miss
or
Neverland
so
has messaged you
that it will
privately.
cost.
Taking him away from his family and teaching him to be a responsible citizen, that's a consequence.
A consequence for killing 4 people? Not even close, says this woman, whose daughter, Brianna Mitchell, died in the crash.
He'll be feeling the hand of God. Definitely. He may think he's gotten away with something, but he hasn't gotten away with anything.
Randy Kay, CNN, New York.
So the first word I had notes for is affluent. When I read this, the first thing that came to mind was this case of another suspected racist, also named Ethan, who seems to have gotten off very easily and without that much punishment for his crime of sacrificing or killing 4 white people. And they said he was affected by affluenza, which I think is a offshoot, definitely connected to this term here, affluent. And I think only white people can be affluent, and I think only white people can suffer from affluenza. And I'm gonna read this definition here for folks to get a better understanding of what I may be trying to explain. This is another code for white people. White people are the richest and most powerful people in the world. They regularly show off their riches for the world to see, from the incredible wealth of such places as Boca Raton, Florida to the old showcases of glamorous wealth in Hollywood, California. White people have been showing off their riches to the poor, non-white world for centuries. They brag about being well off while they brag about being well off while two-thirds of the colored world lives in squalor and poverty. Non-white people are leaving their homelands in record numbers, trying to reach the lands of white people in Europe, Australia, and North America. These non-whites come out of their breeding grounds into the citadels of direct white power to get more income and a better life. They believe that just being close to the power and wealth of white people automatically means a better life. Why? Because they believe that white people are superior, better, and of highest value. So this is so affluent means a white person, and this is also communicating to us that non-white people attempt to gain proximity to people who are affluent, aka white people, and that's very true. But it's only going to be white people who are able to use this term or this title of being affluent or this being described as affluent to their benefit. Because this person was so-called maybe yeah, I'm sure he has a lot of money. I'm sure his race family has a lot of money, so which is how he was able to avoid going to greater confinement. I don't know if a non-white person, especially a black person, had so much money they could get away with killing 4 white people. I just don't see that turning out the same way. But I may be incorrect, and I'll be my line.
Yeah, very constructive. Thanks for reading the definition of 5. Reading this definition and reading this text, race code war, affluent, it really took me back to my first encounter with the affluent. My attempted mother had removed me from the middle school and my neighborhood, which was and a racially exploited community classified as South Central Los Angeles. And I went to a school in Brentwood, California. And that's where the terrorism and racism, white supremacy really took its course in my life, from being mistreated by my white teachers and non-white Asian teachers, telling me my dreams would never manifest on planet Earth, being told I will never be a cartoonist or anything of worth, actually being placed in remedial courses because I was drawing too much. And I wasn't drawing too much. I just happened to have a notebook confiscated that had drawings in it. So and it's really unfortunate how non-white people continuously force their children into systems and institutions that are dominated and white controlled. But again, what are the other options? So definitely the only option is to be on code and understand what we're dealing with. And I'll try to apply code in all areas of activity, especially education. And it also reminded me of the people like in the book, people in non-white countries fleeing here, expecting to be treated with kindness and to have opportunities. And they get those opportunities as long as they mistreat Black people, as long as they treat Black people poorly and, help keep them as the threat, help make sure that Black male is classified as a criminal. When you see them, accuse them of stealing your phone, and it happens quite often, it's actually a viral sensation now. I could go on and on about this word affluent, and Ethan Krempeley is definitely getting the benefit of the doubt. He's getting all the things that you get as a white person. You get protection, you get empathy, you get a way out basically, and it's, at the end of the day, what it is the way out.
Yeah, I think that that is what white power is. You know, being able to be labeled affluenza and or affluent, and that's sparing you from going to greater confinement. Yeah, that is like white power right there. And we've been seeing a lot of different displays of white power going on in 2021 with the recent cases, and just racist man and racist woman being able to get so many people to do things that they don't want to do, involving the people activity area of health and whatnot. So white power to the max. Let's see.
Yeah, I'd say yeah, being white, being classified as white in a system of racism, white supremacy is definitely a form of currency. And looking at that clip is that was really interesting. So if it's so easy for many white people to say that this particular person was influenced by his parents, then I suspect that most white people who are alive today in 2021 understand how their fellow white people are influenced by an entire system of racism, white supremacy, and what it means to be white in that system. So, I think they understand that being in that system demands from time to time a few white sacrifices. So I think they suspect that if the person who killed their loved ones, in this particular case, if they weren't white, then they probably might get what they consider to be justice in that case. But I think they probably would not want to cease the practice of racism, white supremacy, even if it meant having justice for their children in this case. I always think to myself, if an alien were to somehow were to come down to this planet right now, and they had to live the rest of their lives, probably the next 70 years, as a black person or a white person, with all that entails in this system, would that alien choose to be classified as black or classified as white in that system? And I think most people would understand that that alien would choose to be classified as white.
Thank you everyone for their information sharing. Do I have notes on Rich? Well, I think I'll just give my understanding of what he decodes rich to mean. He also thinks says that rich equals white. You got to be white to be so-called rich, and because rich is having a greater value attached to your existence, and as we've learned, Black people don't have any credibility, don't have any value. If any, we have way less than value in the system of white supremacy when compared to white people. And I will read the conclusion paragraph because I think it's constructive. The whole text, the whole definition is constructive. I'm just going to read this part. This is the meaning of minority set aside, which when decoded means handouts. It means that white people have budgeted a small sum of their revenue as a sort of donation or hush money in order to appear to be assisting some Black business. Without this assistance, many of these businesses will not survive. And Black people do not own and control independent wealth. They are heavily subsidized by white controlled dollars. Their money is recycled back into the hands of white money interest. So yeah, it's just an example that white people give non-white people, Black people, the illusion. I think they get all people classified as being non-white, the illusion of being rich, but everything that we so-called own can be traced back to them, or some way traced back to the needing their approval or maintenance in order for us to keep it. So, and it's really interesting because they got us all, many of us, they have many of us just addicted to this drive to want to be rich, have a lot of money, have a lot of material comfort, versus wanting to solve the race problem.
Yeah, some of the thoughts that had come to mind for me when reading that part about affluent, it just reminded me so much of how we tried our best to get jobs growing up in London, and then putting on a white voice on the phone to basically sound affluent, and then you can't make a decision or a choice. Basically, it gets you through the doors, being able to have that, or remove as much ethnicity on your CV as possible, so you've glamorized your words to sound affluent, and which means keeping on par with I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Yeah. Guess, were there any more folks who wanted to share some notes or read anything that caught their mind?
Well, when it comes to rich, there was a program called Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, and that was on top of other things, but that was definitely a TV series that was programming us non-white people, to see how the so-called rich and famous, how they lived, and trying to aspire and try to get those things. And like you said, we rather try to do things to gain money, or to gain so-called influence, but instead of trying to solve the race problems, eliminate racism, white supremacy. And in that program, you saw mainly like 90%, 98% white people. So when I think of rich, I think of white people. Yes, there are a few non-white people that have an abundance of money, but not when it comes to rich, the term rich, that doesn't, I don't know, I don't put those two together.
Did you want me to play the clip?
Yes, if you could play the clip of Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, and also that other clip with, just up to like 1 minute.
Okay. Let me get it on the screen. Yeah, there's definitely a clear difference in observing what so-called rich non-white people, Black people do with their money compared to what rich white people can do with their money. And we're definitely going to see an example of that with this person who for me looks classified as white. Maybe in error, he may be a non-white person. But let's see.
You lead if you were the... How lavish a lifestyle would you lead if you were the richest man on earth? In this world-exclusive edition of Lifestyles, we'll explore the fabulous private domains of Adnan Khashoggi, whose globe-trotting existence is so unbelievably lush, it has inspired blockbuster movies and novels which only pale in comparison to the true story you will see in the next 60 minutes.
Your host on this exclusive edition of Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous is celebrity interviewer Robin Leach. In the untold story of the richest man on earth, we'll fly his $50 million glamour palace in the sky. sail his $70 million yacht that's so exclusive, even James Bond had to ask permission to come aboard. Get the best seat at his multi-million-dollar birthday party that awed European royalty. Join Brooke Shields at a backyard barbecue billionaire style, smack in the middle of his own slice of African jungle. Then meet the man himself.
Manny.
Notice
Yeah,
the term African jungle.
yes. Yeah, even when showing off their material resources and all the material tricking white people find a way to make fun of Black people in some way, shape, or form. So the next term I thought that was significant was the silent majority. I'm just going to, it's pretty short, so I'm just going to read the entire definition, just the entire decoding of it, I should say. This code term was developed during the Nixon administration to speak to and rally white people. It was designated to communicate using a term that appears on the surface to be non-racial. Code words are designed for special audiences where it is clear to whom the message is directed. Today, the term silent majority is rephrased as working families. Vice President Al Gore used this term repeatedly during his acceptance speech at the 2000 Democratic National Convention in Los Angeles, California. He repeatedly said, as if in a hypnotic trance, I will fight for working families. This coded phrase was repeated over and over by many speakers during the convention. When this message is decoded, it means white families. Al Gore's message was that he would fight to preserve white values over domination, white values of domination, the white family, white workers, and the white nation, and would serve as a white president if elected. His ratings numbers jumped once he calmed fears that he would not give away the store to Black people. So it makes a lot of sense when you understand how white people have defined things on planet Earth. They call themselves the majorities and the majority, and they call us the minorities, even though that language doesn't really make sense logically, but they've done it. And calling themselves the silent majority is excellent code, because many of us victims of racism, non-white people, do not know that there's a power structure in place where white people control everything, and they have all of the power. I wouldn't even say majority of the power, but they have all of the power, and that's and it's completely always in front of us, but it's very silent because we don't know about it. It's not we're not in the know of what's taking place. So I think it's really interesting code phrase for sure. And seeing the way Nixon used it, it definitely has a lot of weight behind it. And apparently has been added to mean working families, and I would say probably soccer moms as well, which was another code word from this section of reading. But
yeah,
go ahead.
I didn't know we were going as we go, but I wanted to say something about rich and read a bit about the word rich. Rich is on page 145. This word means white or a desire to be white, like rich and white are interchangeable words. White and powerful are interchangeable. White and smart are interchangeable. This is a part of the white supremacist indoctrination. I'm gonna stop right there. But reading this completely gave me newfound knowledge on how I communicate and how I talk to myself about my aspirations. So I want to be rich. Now I understand that I'm just kind of further victimizing myself and confusing myself by saying that I want to ascend to be white in a way. So I'll definitely reconsider my terminology in regards to my aspirations. But it definitely makes sense. These words that have significance to success and power are immediately attached to whiteness, while the words that are negative and hyperbolic are attached to non-white, primarily Black people. The text also mentions that Black males just means as a code word for crime. But I wanted to share that about the term rich, because I feel like a lot of people are heavily indoctrinated to wanting to be rich, wanting to be have money, but symbolically or subconsciously or consciously, they are asking to have the same power as white people and to be able to do the same things as white people and experience what white people are able to experience, such as success, such as making a plan and achieving it, such as having property and a healthy family and whatnot. So it's very misfortunate that they own everything, including these words, and how they should be used and who they should be used for.
Thank you, sir. Very well said. So before I skip the word, did you want to yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah. Yeah, in terms of the silent majority definition in here is excellent. I find that really. I found that quite a constructive definition here that Akari and Harrows got in Race Code War here, and over here as well in this part of the world called Britain or UK. A lot of politicians especially always say stuff like hard-working British people, like they say in America, hard-working Americans. And what I got from that definition is people who are responsible, people who are classified as white, who are responsible for the maintenance and expansion of racism, white supremacy. Those people, white people, the majority of white people who hear a message like that, they're responsible. Some of them are responsible for sabotaging the efforts of non-white people also. So when white politicians stand up and say this policy will benefit hardworking white people, it's hardworking. Hardworking just means people who are working hard, people who are classified as white, who are working hard to maintain that system of racism, white supremacy. And I suspect that most white people who hear that message understand that that's what the white politician most of the time are referring to.
Thank you, Mr.
Hello, can I be
Damages.
heard?
Yes, you may.
Okay, so instead of using the term rich, I want to use the term from the Word God, from Mr. Neely Fuller's Word God, rich. Do not use this word to apply to any person now existing in the known universe. If a person possesses an abundance of money, do not say that he or she is rich. Instead, say that he or she possesses an abundance of money. And I think that's an excellent way of countering racism instead of saying rich. Just want to put that out there.
Indeed. Thank you, Miss B. That is very constructive to have a once brain computer. So before we skip, before I pass middle class, do you want to share some notes on middle class, Smoky Damages?
Oh yeah, actually, I just checked out the middle class definition that's in the Word Guide, the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept, Neely Fuller Jr.'s Word Guide, and he's got a passage here on middle class, and I'll just read a little bit from it. And he says, middle class or middle class values do not use these terms. Instead, use the terms power class, those white persons who practice racism, white supremacy, in brackets, and powerless class, the non-white people of the known universe during the existence of racism, white supremacy. And the reason is, during the existence of white supremacy, racism, and according to compensatory counter-racist logic, it is meaningless and confusing to use terms like high class values, low class, upper middle class, black middle class, etc. As long as the practice of non-justice, non-balance between people is the greatest influence among people of the known universe, it is incorrect to describe any people as high class, middle class, or low class, etc. Since all of the people of the known universe help to support the practice of non-justice, non-balance between and or mistreatment of people, then the only class differences between people, that some are powerful and some are by comparison powerless. And I think that's really important. And another passage he has here is, as long as the system of racism, white supremacy exists, all of the people who do not practice white supremacy are members of the powerless class, right? So non-white people who are victims of that system of racism, white supremacy are in the powerless class. We're not middle class, we're not high class, we're not upper class. Really, you know, that would, if you were really to apply that term, really just replace that term with with powerful class, if you're describing people who are classified as white. And that means if you're talking about Joe Biden, Donald Trump, Kyle Rittenhouse, Dylan Roof, etc., white people are, by comparison to people who are classified as black in that system, the powerful class.
Precisely. And the white people with this race code word middle class, they still even though it's not a logical word for non-white people to be using, or to be allowing white people to use against us, or to further confuse us, they've still they've attached it to race. He goes into that about how you know, they were trying to just to minimize confusion. I'm just gonna read a quick bit. But says this is from 148. This bloodline claim is regarded as frayed by many white experts. Jefferson defenders say that if it occurred, it was during a time of sexual weakness more than Jefferson's plan to extend his bloodline. Anywho, I also thought that the conclusion of this was very constructive. And it says here again on 148, this does not mean that someday a Black individual will not be placed into the presidential seat. However, it is safe to bet that he or she will have a traceable bloodline to a pedigree to certain white people, i.e. Cullen Powell and his son Michael. The New York-based Village Voice newspaper speculated that the very light-skinned Michael Powell was on track to become the first Black president. And Black people in general are considered a non-class. They may have income, but not class. They do not have accessible pedigree that is traceable and untainted. The pedigree and bloodline were destroyed because of uncontrollable racist breeding during chattel slavery. The middle class word is a call to reassure nervous white people that white privilege, pedigree, this should really say power, but it says white privilege, pedigree, and bloodline will be protected and continued. So yeah, it definitely they tied the word to meaning bloodlines and continuing the white lineage, you know, a Welsing moment for sure, you know, trying to prevent what they fear is occurring, which is white genetic annihilation. And
yes,
go ahead.
No, oh, sorry. Yeah, it's just interesting sometimes when, I mean, I've heard this from many different non-white people about, I don't know, people such as Oprah Winfrey, I don't know, Bill Cosby, Cuba Gooding Jr., etc., that, I don't know, they're middle class or they're upper class or high class, etc. And I just look at them as being powerless, you know, and sometimes white supremacy, the whole system of white supremacy sometimes gives people a little tap on the shoulder, non-white people, little tap on the shoulder, just to remind them of just how powerless they are, you know, in comparison to people who are classified as white. Because when I think of someone like Bill Cosby, no matter how much money he has, I don't know really how powerful he has. And I don't think so-called class has anything to do with it, or money has anything to do with it. You know, when white supremacists were ready to show just how powerless he was in that system, then it became quite apparent, I would say. Sorry for the interruption.
No worries, and that's true. And I think the same thing happened with Obama. As it checked out with the whole white people were still, even though it's a victim, they still want to make sure she has some sort of genetic connection to white people. And Obama does have a white mother, and he was definitely from the powerless class, you know, and he's not some sort of black elite, you know, some powerful black elite with a agenda. No, he's also very powerless, you know, because he's a black male victim of racism.
Yep, and he has to ask white people if he wants to do anything for anybody. He has to ask white people for permission to allow him to do anything. If that was his desire to do anything, he has to check with racist man and racist woman before he's allowed to do anything.
Precisely. So, did you want to chime in?
Yeah, on pages, I don't totally agree about no matter how much wealth or attention these black males have, or Barack Obama, Bill Cosby, whoever, they don't have any real power when it comes to racism, white supremacy. And on page 146, there's these terms that black people or white people have, I think black people actually came up with to refer to the white supremacists. You know, we've all heard the term the man, all those movies where the black male would be after the man, which is this white force that's, you know, harming the black male and black female throughout the films. Even in all those films were blaxploitation films and very counterproductive to any productive behavior being manifested within the black psyche or black consciousness or whatever collective force that governs black people. And I think this is a tradition, basically. The man, the white male is the man. Miss Anne is the white female. Mr. Charlie is a more refined white supremacist, I'm assuming. And fast forward to 2021, you have Karen, which is code for a white racist female. So it's just the tradition doesn't end, it seems like. And it seems like black people are very, very afraid to call them what they are, which is racist, white supremacists. Yeah. But I just thought that was really interesting when I read that part.
That's awesome. I didn't even connect the dots of you know, like the man, the Mr. Charlie, and Miss Anne. I didn't even connect them to being related to the whole Karen phenomenon going on with people calling suspected white women Karen. So that's really interesting. History, you know, history could be repeating itself in that sense, with our inability to attempt to call things what they are. Really, really tragic. And another roasting moment here, really short, so I'm just gonna go ahead and read it. It's 149. Suntan. This is code for white people trying to be black without carrying the label of racial inferiority. Suntanning is a way for white people to get more vividness and their skin tone. This is a way of fulfilling a well-documented desire to have more color. They're trying to be darker in color without having the drawback of being classified as black. And it takes place in like way more refined now because we have this thing called transracial going on where black white women are being caught, pretending to be black females. And some of them get surgery. Some of them get surgeries and not even doing it deceptively. They're getting surgeries becoming darker in order to I don't know, have what they some of them may desire to have, color in their skin, but they still don't have doesn't come with the terror of being classified as black. And there's a bunch of other code words that I'm skipping. Far flung, suburbs, soccer mom, suburban, suburbia, house in the suburbs. Which is why folks say
something about the soccer mom and those types of ones real fast.
Oh yeah, if you want to, go ahead. Folks can share all their notes.
I think it's really interesting that white females have all these interesting code names. They're called bombshells and glamorous, and a white female is raising her kids. She's a soccer mom. She has a can-do attitude. And when I think about the classifications for non-white females, you have ghetto hoochie mamas and the crying black mother who is on the TV because her attempted black child is dead. So I think personally, I think every code word that exists for a white person, there's a direct opposite that they created for non-white females, especially black people in general. These code words got me thinking, like redhead. What is a redhead when it's a black person? It's nappy headed. It's hair that's unacceptable. But if it's on a white person, it's called a red. We like that. It's a lower class, and the hierarchy of white supremacy. But they have immense acceptance for themselves, more than black people have, for sure. That's pretty much it, I think, when it comes to the code name, because there's so many for white people, and I'll speak more when we get to the next few pages.
Yeah, I wonder if there was ever a time where where there was like articles popping up of soccer moms going crazy and like committing crimes. So what's happening? But yeah, maybe that's how another way the white woman has gone so well disguised as being definitely to blame for the system of white supremacy being in place, and should be blamed for their refusal to end it, because they did an excellent job at keeping us focused on only the white man. And probably because the white woman has all these code words that, slowly but surely confuse us into getting us to think that she's not the equal partner to racist man, and choosing to mistreat us and dominate us in the system.
Yeah, far flung. I just thought of far flung just meant, in terms of far flung suburbs, just meant it just sounded to me like far away from. So in other words, let's go somewhere where we don't have to see many black people. If we come out of our houses, we probably won't have to be confronted with so many non-white people, especially black people. That's what sprung to mind when I read that definition of house in the suburbs, etc. And suntan, I didn't really have much notes for the suntan thing. I think his definition here, the decoding of that word was excellent, very constructive. Yeah, it's just white people saying, I'd like to be darker, and I'd also like to have fuller lips, or a bigger backside, etc. I'll take melanin injections. I don't want to be seen as black or treated as black, but I just want to have maybe darker features, etc. Like the clip that you played earlier, the one who basically got away with his crime, his drunk driving charges, etc., he probably had a suntan. Maybe even Kyle Rittenhouse had a suntan, etc. Right? But he definitely does not want to be. They definitely do not want to be treated like Black people.
When I think of Redhead, I think of I Love Lucy, and that was an extremely popular show back in the day. It was like the leading show at one time. And also, I find it interesting that the current White House press secretary, that she's a redhead. Her name is Jen. I can't pronounce her last name, so I'm gonna spell it Psaki. And yeah, just very. Oh, and when it comes to blonde, I think of that movie 10, Anna Nicole Smith, Marilyn Monroe, and I mean, supposedly she dated or slept with the president who was married at the time. I don't hear white people or non-white people trashing her, but when Monica Lewinsky, when she did what she did with Bill Clinton, oh, she was sort of trash. Not even, because she was able to live her life, go on and still have a career and a job or what have you. But yeah, it's very interesting. Also notice people, I said all that to say this, notice that so-called blonde hair women or whatever, how they're escalated in life. And if they're still white and they have darker hair, how they're villainized in a sense.
Yeah, I thought his decoding of his word is very excellent and very spot on. And I know there's some 2021 correlations as well. And on page 50, in regards to blonde, this is the second paragraph. Every woman in the world, whether she admits it or not, desires to be blonde. The concept of white supremacy is that whiteness is superior, prettier, and far more desirable. A blonde white female is considered the most beautiful the most beautiful goddess in white supremacy culture and folklore. The saying that blondes have more fun is heard all over the world. Black people, from former NBA star Dennis Rodman, tennis star Serena Williams, to everyday Black females, adopted the idea that blonde was more beautiful. Black people spend millions of dollars each year attempting to look whiter with blonde dyed hair, blue eye contact lenses, and surgery to reduce lips, buttocks, and nose sizes. The idea that blonde is beautiful is central to the theme that white is beautiful. In 2003, despite all claims to the contrary, the blonde woman is still the dominant standard of beauty. I would say that the dominant standard of beauty and power and the seat as well. And it's tragic because you can still look in Area 3. A lot of so-called Black entertainers, like rappers, they still dye their hair blonde. They still do it. Males and females dye their hair blonde, either to get closer to this to white people, or that's just I don't know, maybe a practice of or a display of not having just refusing to lie to oneself. Because if your hair is not blonde naturally, then you shouldn't make it blonde for any ridiculous reasons. But I may be talking crazy saying such a thing, saying that person should not dye their hair blonde or dye their hair at all. But yeah, we still see it. Any comments from any of the other hosts?
Suburbicon, movie suggestion. Please watch Suburbicon. I think it's excellent when it comes to talking about white women, decoding the racism, white supremacy in it, and everything else.
I suspect that if people classified as white, or even people classified as Asian, or just people who are not classified as Black on this planet today, if they decided to by next week they were going to start wearing quote unquote black hair or so-called afros, etc., then more people who are classified as black would start wearing our own hair, which is unfortunate. But this is how the brain trashing, being born into this system of racism, white supremacy has poisoned us, poisoned our sense of self, poisoned how we look at ourselves, what we look at as beauty, what we look at as ugly and horrible or nasty. And yeah, unfortunately, if they started to, it's like we're almost waiting for them to say, yeah, your hair is acceptable. Your hair's okay. We think your hair's all right. And as soon as they do that, then unfortunately, that's the only way that a lot of us would probably, quote unquote, celebrate our own hair that grows out of our own heads. Very, very unfortunate.
Yeah, and we don't have to celebrate it. We just have to be, content with it. We just have to, all right, this is our hair. We're just gonna maintain it in a way that it's for best for our time and energy. We don't need to be proud of our hair. It's just but yeah, they have really got us focused on many silly things, just odd things, but solving the problem. Now this other
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Go
What
ahead.
about the natural hair movement? Well, what's going on now? I'm seeing more and more of us non-white people wearing our hair natural.
That's excellent, and I hope to see more of it. So I didn't even know this was a code word, but it makes a lot of sense now. I always knew the word meant happy, but I didn't know how it got the term. And I'm just going to read a little bit and explain some of the bits I don't read. Gay. This is code for white male homosexuals. It's from page 150. The gay word has great propaganda value. And he goes on to say how the word in the dictionaries meant cheering, beaming, radiating, glistening, and glowing, and how it was a marketing strategy for from white people who were homosexuals to get this sort of behavior normalized, not stigmatized, and they've done a really excellent job at that. He goes on to say this really interesting thing about flags and territory. He says they even have a flag that symbolizes white sexual nationalism and individualism. Flags are used to establish territory. Some experts have even predicted that within the next 50 years, homosexuality will be considered as the normal state of existence. The power of words can change the whole landscape. And it says here, he then goes on to explain that black male homosexuals and black homosexuals in general are still at the bottom of the so-called gay community, or just the gay concept. He says the black gay or homosexual is considered a pathetic and isolated creature by white gay races. This is not the same for the white gay, who is considered refined, intellectually rich, and powerful. White gayness has value. The so-called revitalization of materially deficient black communities is based on white homosexuals choosing to relocate into the areas. It is the whiteness that gives them value and worth. And I would say a gay white person has a lot of value in the system of white supremacy, especially if they're going to spend their time, capturing black people and confusing them to that degree. Really mind scrambling them. If they're being captured in that manner, they're really not going to have an interest in solving the problem of racism and white supremacy, from what I've seen and heard.
I'm not even sure if today in 2021 that the word gay is in and of itself a code for white male homosexuals exclusively. I'm not sure. That's my VGQ there. I'm not even really sure if that's accurate or not. I know years ago, probably it might have been code for white males who practice homosexuality, but I'm not even sure if today, I'm not really sure, because when I look at people, obviously like one that springs to mind, Lil Nas X, for example, I think there's lots and lots of white supremacist organizations also that that encourage Black males to take on that title of gay, specifically that word. And I'm not really sure. I think the word has expanded, and the meaning in the minds of most people around the world, I think that word has expanded now to include any male, probably, regardless of color, who practices that. I could be mistaken though, but I'm just not sure if that word is really just exclusive to white male homosexuals. But anyway, I could be in error, but that's my VGQ.
Understood. So go ahead.
I'm remembering being on elementary school ground, and I remember the word gay just came out. It was like a new word that all the kids were using. I don't know where it came from. I just remember one day all the kids at school were calling, "Hey, that's gay. You're gay. That's gay." I don't know where this word came from, but it definitely was brought to the community that I was in. And it definitely did this number on, confusing and even probably turning a few boys into like the book states, gay males, gay Black males. And I think the definition of how the gay white male is allowed to be free and like butterfly around, while the gay Black male is classified as this like isolated, depressed monster. Isn't that the reality though? Because it's the only state for non-white people is to be depressed and isolated and alone. I mean, if they do have people around them, those people are often in the same predicament, consciously or subconsciously. Even people like James Baldwin wrote about how depressed and alone he was, and how him being gay, had things played a role in that as well. So just thoughts from Cert.
Yes, Cert, your thoughts reminded me of my notes when we were reading this. My experience with gay white males has been so warped it's not even warped, clarified in a way that you can feel the aggression. It's just as aggressive as white women's tears, but they actually have the position in the structure and system to implement that, and to implement their thoughts, their actions against particularly Black women and Black males if they do not accept their advances or flirtation or give into that energy. In London, Europe, you would find that in retail, most management is white males, and I have experienced myself, and in conversations with plenty of Black women that I've grown up with, the scrutiny, jealousy, idealization of character, everything you do, and being extremely blown up by gay white males in your work field. So there's always that added pressure there, because of course they're in competition with you directly. And that is, So I understand how the book that Kari O'Hara has actually described Black gay males as pathetic, because they are extremely isolated once they're within this gay cocoon. And I believe there's a massive pressure by the gay agenda the gay white supremacist agenda to make sure any Black, queer, or any effeminate Black male confused who enters the LGTB whatever scene feels highly pressurized to basically make sure they dot all their T's and their I's with the LGBTQ, make sure that they're on par with every trend that white supremacist cis males actually bring into the situation, which is of course part of the agenda. So they're getting lost within feeling like, oh, I found my tribe, and then finding out that white supremacy is now managing their mind for them even further and making them feel even more isolated because now they're removed from their family members, from being disassociated for being gay. And yeah, it's just another loophole trap of white supremacy.
Wow, I fully agree with that. And it's like, just to put it out there as well, it's just really funny that even a few years ago, there's a well-known DJ over here called Chris Moyles, and he got into a lot of trouble a few years ago on his morning program, because it's just funny how the word just changes definition in the minds of a lot of people, depending on where you are in the world. Like quite a few years ago, then that whole word gay then turned into something really, really derogatory in terms of meaning rubbish, right? So a lot of people just started talking about, your phone's gay, man. Like your phone's rubbish. So anytime your phone's rubbish, say, your phone's gay. Or you look at someone wearing some, I don't know, a pair of trainers or something like that, and they say, your trainers are gay, man. Or that chair you're sitting in, that chair is gay. And it just became, it just kind of went into the lexicon that just gay was just rubbish. And this guy called Chris Moyles he's classified as white. On his morning breakfast show, he said something about I think he actually used that term. I think he said something about his phone, because his phone wasn't working properly or something like that. And he said, this phone or whatever it is really gay. And he got into a lot of trouble. So yeah, this word, I mean, like Neely Fuller Jr. was saying, word masters, and they changed the definitions of what gay means all the time. First of all, it's happy, then it meant homosexual. Now it means, a little while ago, it just meant something that was rubbish, but then obviously it still means homosexual. It's just a lot of confusion on top of more and more and more confusion. And of course now it's not even gay, it's queer, which is like an all-encompassing term of everyone who's probably not heterosexual, classified as heterosexual. So yeah, the whole term is confusing. Everything about that is confusing to me.
Rightfully so, I suspect. So I feel like he covers the same code words more than once, but just because we're in December, it is that so-called jolly season. I'm gonna read the white Christmas symbols: white Jesus, white Santa Claus, white Santa helpers, white snow, white North Pole. So stop celebrating everything, especially holidays, so-called Christmas. It's for white people. It's what they can do during their time and energy, because they have dominated and conquered the entire planet. Non-white people, especially Black people, we should be doing other things for our time and energy that involve solving a race problem.
I agree 1,000%. Can you please play the clip? Okay, so there's white Santa Claus. So what's the flip to that? And what that imagery, the opposite of a so-called black Santa Claus, what happens when one is a black Santa Claus? Is it possible to play that clip?
Okay. You put it in the, would you send it to me
in the WhatsApp?
All right.
It's really interesting, actually, whilst you're looking for that clip. It's really funny. I know personally quite a few people who are classified as black who look at images like that or think of images like that, even the thought of those types of images of a black Santa Claus or a black Jesus figure, they will just not even countenance the idea of it. They'll never have a picture of a black Jesus in their house or a black Santa Claus. Not that I'd want them to even have, I wouldn't even prefer them to have that in their house, that those types of symbols in their house anyway. But they they just, apparently the color of that person who's known as Jesus is not important, apparently. So they say. But it's so unimportant to them that the very idea of a black one is really, I don't know, really frightening for people like that. And I suspect it's equally frightening to portray Santa Claus or Father Christmas or whoever it is as a black person. But yeah, they're all all strange symbols to me. And like I said, I mean, I think I've covered that before. No celebration. No celebration, no celebration. There's no reason to celebrate whilst you're a victim of the system of racism, white supremacy. Doesn't make sense, not to me anyway.
Thank you. Helen, what was it? This one, or was it one of the?
Nope, this is the one.
Okay. Did you want to comment on that?
Oh, I thought it was a video. I sent you a few videos, but anyway, what happened was that, oh, I don't want to comment on it if I don't have it exactly.
Oh yeah, because you sent me you sent me two more. Maybe the video is one of the other ones you sent me.
Oh. Okay, but if it's not this one, in past articles, when people put up or try to portray a black Santa, they were met with so-called racist comments where white people were like, no. What was happening is that they were attempting to put that white person on notice, or what do you call that? Refinement, like letting them know that, hey, this is not correct. You're not supposed to have a black Santa up. And the white person's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, no, you're not supposed to do this. So, damn, I'm doing a bad job. I'm doing a poor job explaining this.
Well, I think that's fine. I think it will be constructive to read a note that the black people got from a suspected racist about, and at the least, this could be more motivation for why black people should not be celebrating holidays, should not be celebrating any holiday, celebrating anything, because we are slaves to the system, prisoners to the system, victims of the system who need help but are not getting the help that we need to solve this problem. So we need to focus on that and solving the problem ourselves, because white people don't seem to be wanting to help us. So yeah, so just, instead of decorating one's house with a bunch of Santa Claus, black or white, here's motivation why you shouldn't do that. Please remove your Negro Santa Claus, please remove your Negro Santa Claus yard decoration. You should not try to deceive children into believing that I am a Negro. I am a Caucasian white man to you and have been for the past 600 years. Your being jealous of my race is no excuse for your dishonesty. Besides that, you are making yourself the laughingstock of the neighborhood. Obviously, your values are not that of the Lakewood area, and maybe you should move to a neighborhood out east with the rest of your racist kind. Yours truly, Santa Claus. That's really interesting when a suspected racist is doing something that may be racist, they will call the other person a racist.
It's just really funny. It's always a source of it always does really make me laugh in a little way sometimes, Anthony, is when I look at it gives me such an insight into anti-blackness, right? Because I've spoken to white people who are classified as white and non-white people down through the years, where they don't even believe that this person called Santa Claus even exists, and don't believe that Jesus even exists, but they are certain that he's not a black person, right? They're just certain that this person is not black. They just cannot even fathom that idea. It's like, no, yeah, but you don't even believe in Jesus. Yeah, but he ain't black, right? As long as you don't portray that person, Santa Claus or Jesus, as a black person, and that just, wow. Most of the times you ask someone like that, and then they'll probably, yeah, in my experience, they usually say stuff like that, and it's just always fascinated me.
So true and so accurate and so sadly funny. And let me explain another way that white people are so deceptive. In Disney World, they are going to allow a black Santa. More deception.
That is funny. Wow, a place that's associated with comedy, right? so obviously that's like they're basically trying to troll black people, having Mickey Mouse or whoever all around, Donald Duck, etc. And then they're going to say, yep, this is the right place to portray a Disney character or someone, or Santa Claus or whatever, as someone who's black. Wow. You gotta love the white supremacists for their humor.
Yeah, so was he not allowed at Disneyland before this? Apparently not, because this is the first time. For the first time, Tacky, it doesn't get any better than Tacky. So looks like.
Can I say one thing about the Santa Claus stuff?
Go ahead.
I agree with Helen and what everyone has said. Complete confusion. It's just a way to get attention and controversy. And also, why not convince some more non-white black people to go ahead and flock to Disneyland and spend a bunch of money on gifts and supplies? But the fact that this imaginary character basically gets so much attention and reverence in the white supremacist complex to show us exactly what these holidays represent. They represent the carrying on of the tradition of racism, white supremacy. Giving out presents that symbolize just dominating the complete universe, having full control over people's time, money, and resources as well. I think Santa Claus or Satan Claus, Christmas, Xmas should not be celebrated by anyone who is black and anyone who is treated as black. That's just what I want to say about that.
I just thought of something else. This is not first, but many times. Please put it like this. Please, parents, non-white parents, do not lie to your children. And this is one of the ways, one of many times that non-white parents, attempted parents, lie to their children when it comes to holidays. Don't celebrate them, and then don't tell them this crap.
Indeed. Thank you, Mr. Sarah, Miss B. I'm going to play a little sound clip.
There are four types, four forms of it that you can get to by going to producejustice.com. You'll see it in the textbook, the forms that it takes. And that is black people's biggest drawback when it comes from not only not having a code, but not really being focused on countering and eliminating racism as the reason for being. Whereas the white supremacists, their whole reason for being, for existing, is white supremacy. They have no other reason for even existing. This is why they're in such opposition to anybody changing it. Because if you take white supremacy away from a white person who believes in white supremacy, you've taken everything. You haven't just taken something. And it's the same way with black people. You take away the ability for a black person to show off to another black person, that black person is now suicidal.
All right, and the final word I have notes on is liberals and conservatives. This whole left versus right situation that most of the globe stuck in or focused on, at least in this area of the world. Just being a liberal, Republican, a conservative, what are all these so-called political terms that and labels that we carry that are used by white people as well. Liberals, conservatives, this is from 154. These are code words for groups of white supremacists who have developed a cultivated technique for dealing with black people. The word liberal, it's associated with good things. It indicates tolerance, open-mindedness, free thinking, open-handedness, generosity, and big-heartedness. The word alone is powerful enough to attract individuals who wouldn't want to belong to a group of people that have these qualities. The word liberal also has a distinct political meaning and political rhetoric. It is considered left-wing. The uniting of political philosophies to wings brings out an immediate perceptual association with birds or flying. One of the cornerstones symbols of white domination is the big bird called the eagle. The eagle is big-eyed, smart predator that surveys the entire landscape and then calmly waits out its prey. So he then goes on to explain how just this white people using these labels have been able to masterfully deceive black people into getting on the side with the enemy, trusting the enemy in general. And with the whole calling it the left wing, the right wing, we have to remember that this bird is a predator, and the prey is non-white people, it's black people. We are not actually on any, when we're not on the left wing or the right wing, we are at the bottom of the system, and the system being surveyed and hunted by the left wing and the right wing, in very, very refined ways. They are mistreating us and dominating us and deceiving us 24/7, as long as we are not suspicious to their behaviors and what they're up to. Is there any folks who want to share any comments or notes on that?
You know what? In the United Independent Compensatory Code System concept, the codified word guide, right? There's a definition for the word liberal, and it's one of my favorite definitions in that book. I recommend everyone get the code book and the word guide. They're both equally important. And I'm just going to read a little excerpt here from the word liberal in brackets racial that Neely Fuller Jr. has got in this word guide. And it says, use this term to mean a white person who speaks and or acts to maintain white supremacy, racism, by using a greatly refined form of deceit. The deceit that is used by such persons is so refined that it is usually very acceptable comfortable and satisfying to the victims, the non-white people. Also, use it to mean any white person who seeks to maintain white supremacy through the use of greatly refined deceit. And he goes on to list a couple of examples of what liberal, so-called liberal racists do to maintain that system of racism, white supremacy. And in closing, he says, the liberal white supremacists make plans for a world in which the victims of racism, white supremacy, or non-white people will come to enjoy white supremacy so much that they will never wish to exist in any way other than as subjects to the white supremacists. The so-called liberal racist and conservative racists both have the same goal. The so-called liberal racist and the conservative racist both have the same goal: to be liberal in the conservation of the system of racism, white supremacy. And that's one of my favorite parts of this word. I mean, the whole word guide is excellent, and I recommend all victims of racism, white supremacy go out and get that code system and the word guide. And yeah, that's just that word liberal alone, like I said, is worth the price of the book for me, because I've never actually had it explained to me in such an excellent way that he's explained it here. So yeah, that's why I think of the word liberal. I completely agree with Neely Fuller Jr.'s definition of liberal and conservatives. They both have the same goal: to be liberal in the conservation of the system of racism, white supremacy.
I'm reminded of the movie Get Out, where the dad is a so-called liberal, but he was still helping in a business to kidnap and kill Black people, confuse Black people, if anything, confuse Black people to a very, very high degree. So yeah, liberal, Republican, conservative, any so-called label is all, the business is the same, maintaining white supremacy. That's socialist, that's Marxist, that's any of these labels. The business is maintaining white power domination, keeping a race family comfortable, racist man, racist woman, and racist child, keeping them comfortable and keeping them in power and able to practice racism.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what has been said. And I really want to talk about the liberal and conservative divide. And it's supposed to be simple. The liberals are supposed to be the ones who are accepting and progressive, which is not true and false information and very incorrect. And the conservatives are the white supremacists who want to conserve their white nationalist, white supremacist beliefs, thoughts, speech, and action. And I remember it. It's so interesting seeing non-white Black males practice conservatism and vote Republican. Not that it matters who we're voting for. Like, we're not voting to remove racism, white supremacy, but it just shows the level of brain trashing. And also it shows you that how some Black people have become so victimized that they say, you know what, I'm already a victim, so let me just profit off my victim. Let me just practice insanity. And you have people like Candace Owens, who is able to have an entire platform where she's regurgitates racism, white supremacy 24/7, and she just spews a lot of incorrect and negative information about Black females and Black males. And she really is a Black face, Black body, white mind, white voice. And I think that's what this governmental liberal conservative thing kind of does to Black people. It provides them with a language that they are not really able to process because they haven't read certain books that they need to read, and they're unable to decode what the words really mean. Liberal is a white person who wants to control Black people, non-white people, a certain way, and a conservative person is a white supremacist that wants to control Black people and non-white people the traditional way, the good old way.
the way that allowed them to have millions of Black people in chains and captivity across the entire planet at one point in time. That's what I'll say about that.
Very well
Sheriff
said,
Five,
sir. Mhm.
while you find the clip of Soft on Crime, the police officer talking about the law enforcer talking about soft on crime, I want to run through my clip, through my my notes real quick. Well, the term enterprise zone in New York City, they've changed that term to opportunity zone or empowerment zone. That's the new code word, the semi-new code word. I wanted to decipher the different, when talking about Christmas, white Jesus, Santa Claus, I also want to run down a few of the Christmas songs that also helps with our programming. Little Drummer Boy, white. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas, white. It's the most wonderful time of the year, programming, white. It's a little snowman, white. There's no place like home for the holidays, programming. Yeah. Oh, you found it? Okay. Are you able to play it?
Oh, my bad. I wasn't muted. I was responding to what you said. But yeah, with those songs, those have been a really stellar tool and mind controlling and just brain trashing various victims of racism. Because those tunes are very deadly, and just getting people to just celebrate whiteness, celebrate white things. All right, did you want me to? Do you want me to play this one first or the other one?
No, this
first?
one. Yes, this one.
Yeah, I noticed that both of these are very recent, and the last one was actually titled like "Soft on Crime," so that they're still using this code phrase in 2021, which is goes to show how right on this text is. But we're gonna play it now.
Time a string of smash and grab robberies combined with an uptick in home invasion attacks have Los Angeles residents on edge.
Critics slam California's soft on crime policies and the state's zero bail policy that ensure most suspects walk free. Well, here to react is LAPD detective and director of the Los Angeles Police Protective League, Jamie McBride. Jamie, thanks so much for being with us early this morning. And you know, I just saw a statistic which is quite amazing to me, that there were 11 smash and grab robberies reported throughout the city up till about a week ago, over a month-long period. 14 people arrested from those, all back out on the street, and you say that they're out in the street faster than the paperwork can be done. Explain.
Well, yeah, first we have to look, how did we get here? You know, the ACLU advocated for Proposition 47, which changed the sentencing guidelines. So right now, you can literally go out, do whatever you want, commit crimes, and you'll be out faster than the officers can finish the report. And that's a fact. You know, we're wondering, how many times does somebody have to be arrested here in LA before they stay in jail? It's sad to say, but it's almost safer to hang out with Alec Baldwin on a movie set than to go shopping in Los Angeles right now. That's how crazy it is. It is so violent. We're telling people don't visit because we don't think we can keep you safe right now. And that's just sad to say.
Well, you know, Detective, in Los Angeles, you have zero bail because of COVID. You mentioned Prop 47. You also have District Attorney George Gascon, who did something like he's trying to release a convicted murderer 6 years into a 50-year jail sentence. So I'm wondering, if you could start anywhere to make Los Angeles safer, what's the first thing that you would do?
Well, you know, you'd have to start with the governor. Gavin Newsom. He's advocated with ACLU for Proposition 47 as well as George Gascon, who authored that bill. And you know, here's an interesting twist too. You know, the CEO to Netflix gave $3 million to fight the recall campaign on Governor Gavin Newsom, and that's the son-in-law of Jacqueline Avant, who was murdered by somebody who got out of jail who should have been in jail. So first of all, you got to clean up from the top. You know, Gavin Newsom needs to be gone. We need to work on changing these laws back to make it tougher on crime. We need to get rid of these so-called progressive district attorneys. They are advocating for the criminals. It's almost like it's shame on you if you're a victim. It's like it's your fault. That's the way they see it. So there's a lot of cleaning up to do, but we need to take back the streets. And to be honest with you, it shouldn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat. I think we should all want to feel safe in your home, and we should be tough on crime. And that's where it starts. You know, we have to start from the top and clean house all the way down.
I think that was a fitting place to end it. Take back the streets. We cover that code phrase in one of our earlier studies.
Clean up the streets, take them back. All the terminology was used from top to bottom. We got to get them out of there. Get rid of the black man that's in charge right now. It's a lot of. This was a very volatile programming. This man is doing a fine job at, you know, understanding that we need to be tough on these black males. Let's be tougher on them. This nigger's about to get out. He just killed somebody. You know, stop it. Very, very. I'm level 5 teams. I would cut the upper 5. But this guy, yeah.
Well, you're right. This guy, he's doing a really incredible job for racist man, racist woman. By he's saying, hey, you know, even though James Baldwin just shot a white woman in the face, you know, he's still not the problem. You know, he's still not dangerous. You know, it's a group of black. Oh yeah, my bad. Alec Baldwin. Alec Baldwin is still. You know, he just shot a white woman in the face, but he's not the problem. You know, he's not dangerous. You know, it's these black males running around, you know, looting and robbing our material things that we've trained them to be addicted to and want to seek out. Yeah, being soft on crime, that is a code phrase. We heard that. I heard that mentioned a couple of times in this broadcast. I'm just gonna read it because it's really short. It's from 155. Soft on crime. This is code for a white man or a woman who is afraid to deal or get tough with black males. White politicians often accuse their opponents of not wanting to incarcerate larger numbers of black males. If the opposing candidate is black, it is said that he or she will not deal with their people in any aggressive plan to imprison more of them. In the racist lexicon, the word crime means black males. So very, very, very short and brief, and concise as well. That is what it means. You know, soft on crimes. You're not targeting the black males enough. You're not targeting black people enough. You gotta, you know, throw them in and not only throw him in jail, but you know, her too, all of them, as many as you can. I mean, as many as you fit in there, and then when they come out, set it up so they're encouraged to go right back there. Because I think you know, if the folks who are you know, changing these laws, they know the system is still very powerful, and they know that so what if they're getting out early? Most of them will be so you know, confused and victimized that they're going to come right back. So, you know, we know what we're doing. You know, this could be a liberal side talking. You know, don't worry. We're sending them right back to you. You just got to be more patient. This could be what's going to the liberal mindset of white supremacy.
Yeah, in that clip, when he was, when the white female was asking him for his suggestions, I just half expected him to say, well, I just suggest that we get rid of all the Negroes. That's what I just expected him to say. It was funny, and or just telling, really. And it's just funny how down through the years, it's the word liberal and progressive have almost become kind of interchangeable. And when the word, I mean, I don't even know what progress means. If you're progressive, the word progress is usually associated with better than what came before. And most of the time, I'd say probably all of the time, you got the liberal arm of white supremacy, and you got the conservative so-called arm of white supremacy. And non-white people, especially people who are classified as black, don't seem to do better under either one of these groups of people. They're just all white supremacists at the end of the day. If you're going to practice white supremacy, it doesn't matter if you're a so-called liberal or a so-called conservative. And when he's talking about tough on crime, I don't think he had in mind to be tough on the types of crimes of, like, say, Kyle Rittenhouse, or, you know, and I don't know, or the school shooters, etc. I don't really think that's what he's talking about. Those types of people are the people he had in mind when he said tough on crime. I don't think he's talking about be tough on, I don't know, these white corporations, etc., who are not paying taxes in the place called America that he claims to really love, etc. I don't really think he's talking about, you know, being tough on these banks that aren't paying taxes, I don't know, or Starbucks or Netflix or blah, 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 not paying their proper taxes, which would give up more people even more money and bring a lot more people out of poverty. And, you know, if you get people out of poverty, maybe they might not commit so much crime, because a lot of poverty makes criminals, makes crime sometimes. And yeah, I don't think he was talking about that. I just think he was just talking about getting tough on black people specifically who commit crime.
100%. I think that is well demonstrated by just you know, the images that were being played in the background, and just his excellent use of these code phrases. Again, I think we should take note that the biggest criminals on the planet is racist man and racist woman and racist child. They've gotten away with the most murders. They've stolen the most things, even stolen people and their minds. And they commit rape every single day against the planet and against non-white people. So the biggest criminals are racist man and racist woman. We need to get tough on them by using our thought, speech, and action against them and against their system. But alrighty, I think we could get into closing comments to see if folks don't even have any more notes to share. When you like to begin? Actually, I'll start. I'll get us started with closing comments. Closing comments. I'm just gonna read off a few of the other selected code words, and just folks to think. You know, what else is a code word? What else is a code phrase when you're out? You know, you're hearing people talk, black people, non-white people, white people, especially when you're hearing them talk, like, what are they saying? What does it mean? You know, like, for example, schoolyard violence could mean young niggers carrying guns to school. You know, after school programs could mean pacification of black youth, you know, undesirable parasites, you know, when a white person says it, could mean niggers living off white people. You know, the bell curve, you know, I've heard this term a bunch of times before understanding that it could mean black people are dumb and genetically inferior. So I hope we will be motivated to pay better attention to the words that people use, because the words equate the thought, and it's the action. So we should be focused on that and paying attention to it. And I'll meet my line there.
You know, my closing comments, I think, are have just been inspired by you, 05. I think I might even turn it into a little meme on Instagram. Getting tough on crime, to me, means getting tough on the biggest crime of all, the system of racism, white supremacy. And that's my closing comments.
Okay, my closing comment. This is Helen B. Fair housing, fair as in, fair has so many different definitions, and it also includes white, light, and bright. So, and it's interesting how fair housing and this on this side of the planet over here where I reside, they are usually the worst areas, or in the worst condition. I did a little background on a song called Santa Baby. It's very popular around the holidays around now, and is sung by a non-white female by the name of Eartha Kitt, but the writer, his name is Philip Springer, and Philip Springer is a white man, and everybody else after that who sings that song, white females with blonde hair. I find that very interesting. And let's see. Oh, Midnight Basketball, Midnight Dark Black. Yeah.
For my closing comments, I'll just oh, sorry, Helen, was you finished?
No, you go ahead until I find something else.
Yeah, so for my closing comments, I just like to say this is a constructive business meeting, and I'm grateful to be able to hear such wise decoding and commentary and experiences around reading what Kari O'Hara is sharing. Ohan, I can't pronounce her last name, sorry. I'm just grateful. That's all I can say. And I hope, no, I'm pushing the will that more and more people will gravitate towards hearing this information and changing the pattern and being able to decode and be in a space where they can now also be counter-racist. And then that's the best form, that's the best thing we can wish for. That's my Christmas wish.
Closing comments are, I hope that many more people classified as non-white, especially the Black people on planet Earth, start to understand what's going on this planet. I'm grateful that I'm reading this text, and I'm hoping to improve my thought, speech, and action with every single page.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for
Wait, 1 second, 1 second.
Yeah, I remembered. Go ahead.
I don't think that this was read, but I have level playing field. Was that read already? No, right?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I have that highlighted. So I want to read that real quick. White families have a net worth 11 times that of Black families, attempted families, and will inherit 10 trillion in assets. With this gap, there is no level field. And that's my closing comment.
Wow. Thank you. Thanks to the audience. Please like, comment, and subscribe and share this information to other victims. The CRWS signing out. I hope this was a constructive Sunday service business meeting, and I encourage you to do the same. Maybe gather some of your own associates and begin discussing this problem, coming up with solutions to it, and learning how we can exist in it more seriously, and so we can solve it. CRWS signing out.